You've probably called Spam mystery meat. Most people have. But here's the strange part. Spam contains only 6 ingredients. Meanwhile, the hot dog in your fridge might contain 20. So the real question isn't what's inside Spam. The real question is why we think it's the most mysterious food in the grocery store. The reputation problem. Spam has one of the worst reputations in food. It sits in a blue can with a pull-tab lid, looking like something that should come with a warning label. The packaging hasn't changed much since the 1930s. That bright blue can with block letters practically screams processed food. People imagine factories pumping out pink meat slurry from unidentifiable animal parts. Mystery scraps, lips and snouts, whatever couldn't be sold as real meat. The jokes write themselves. Spam stands for something posing as meat, or scientifically processed animal matter, or dozens of other creative insults people have invented over decades. But if you actually read the label, you'll find something surprisingly simple. Spam contains exactly 6 ingredients, just 6. Compared to most processed foods sitting on grocery store shelves, that's incredibly straightforward. Most breakfast cereals have more ingredients than Spam. Energy bars? Way more. Even bread often contains a dozen additives. So where did this reputation come from? The World War II origin story. The reputation of Spam began during World War II. Between 1941 and 1945, the United States shipped more than 150 million pounds of canned pork to troops in Allied countries around the world. Think about that number. 150 million pounds. That's enough Spam to circle the earth if you laid the cans end to end. For many soldiers stationed overseas, Spam became breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sometimes all 3 in a single day. The military chose Spam for practical reasons. It didn't require refrigeration. It could survive rough transport conditions. It had a long shelf life, and it provided protein and calories soldiers needed for physically demanding combat conditions. But eating the same thing every single day for months, sometimes years, gets old fast. Soldiers began joking about it. They called it mystery meat, special army meat, and several other names that weren't exactly polite enough to print in newspapers back home. Comic strips featured soldiers complaining about Spam. Letters home mentioned it. Songs were written mocking it. By the time troops returned after the war ended, Spam had become a punchline, a symbol of military monotony and wartime rationing. But here's the thing, those jokes weren't really about the ingredients. They were about repetition, about eating the same thing over and over until you couldn't stand the sight of it anymore. The food itself was fine. The experience of eating it daily for years, that was the problem. What's actually inside Spam still uses almost the same recipe it had when it launched in 1937. Only one small change was added decades later when potato starch was introduced to reduce the gelatin that naturally forms during the cooking and canning process. Today, the ingredient list is still extremely simple. 6 ingredients total: pork with ham, salt, water, sugar, potato starch, sodium nitrite. That's it. No artificial flavors, no mystery chemicals with unpronounceable names, no natural flavoring that could mean anything. Compare that to foods people rarely question. Many hot dogs contain 15 to 25 ingredients. Check the label next time you're at the store. You'll find things like mechanically separated chicken, corn syrup, modified food starch, sodium phosphate, potassium lactate, sodium diacetate, sodium erythorbate, and more. Chicken nuggets? Some brands contain over 30 ingredients. Even products marketed as natural or organic often have ingredient lists stretching across the entire package. Spam? 6 ingredients you can understand without a chemistry degree. Inside the factory. Making Spam is surprisingly straightforward. It begins with pork shoulder delivered to the Hormel Foods facility in Austin, Minnesota, the same place Spam has been manufactured since the beginning. Workers trim the meat carefully to reach roughly 20% fat content. This ratio is critical to the final product. Too lean and the Spam dries out during cooking, becoming tough and unappetizing. Too fatty and it becomes greasy, with excess fat pooling in the can. 20% is the sweet spot where texture, moisture, and flavor balance perfectly. The trimmed meat then goes through 2 separate grinding stages. First, a coarse grind creates visible chunks of meat. This gives Spam its characteristic texture. You can actually see pieces of pork when you slice it. Second, a finer grind produces a smoother paste that acts as a binder, holding everything together and creating that firm, sliceable consistency Spam is known for. The combination of coarse and fine grinding is what allows Spam to hold its shape when you cut it, but still have recognizable meat texture. The mixing and canning process. The ground meat moves into industrial mixers where the remaining 5 ingredients are added. Salt serves dual purposes, flavor and preservation. Before refrigeration, salt was one of the few ways to preserve meat for long periods. Water adds moisture to the mixture and helps distribute ingredients evenly throughout. Sugar balances the saltiness and enhances the meat flavor. The amount is small. You're not tasting sweetness, just a more rounded flavor profile. Potato starch absorbs excess liquid during cooking and helps create the firm texture. Without it, you'd get more of that gelatinous coating nobody likes. Sodium nitrite prevents bacterial growth, particularly botulism, which can be deadly. It also maintains the pink color we associate with cured meats. The mixture is portioned precisely into cans. Each can receives exactly 12 ounces of the meat mixture. The cans are sealed under vacuum to remove air, which would cause spoilage and oxidation. Then comes the critical step, pressure cooking at high temperature. The sealed cans go into massive industrial pressure cookers where they're heated to temperatures high enough to kill all bacteria, including the spores that cause botulism. This process does 2 things simultaneously. It cooks the meat all the way through, and it sterilizes the entire can, making the contents shelf-stable. That's why Spam can sit on a shelf for 3 to 5 years without refrigeration and still be perfectly safe to eat when you open it. The ingredient everyone fears. The ingredient people worry about most is sodium nitrite, and to be fair, there are legitimate health concerns. Studies have linked high consumption of sodium nitrite over long periods to increased risks of certain health conditions. But here's the context people often miss. Sodium nitrite is found in virtually every cured meat you eat regularly. All of them contain sodium nitrite. If you eat any of those foods, you're already consuming the exact same ingredient that's in Spam. The difference? Spam gets singled out, called mystery meat, treated like it's uniquely dangerous. Meanwhile, people eat bacon every weekend without questioning what's preserving it. From military ration to global comfort food. After World War II, something unexpected happened. Instead of disappearing once the war ended, Spam spread around the world and became embedded in food cultures far from Minnesota. In Hawaii, Spam became essential. Spam musubi, sliced Spam on rice wrapped in seaweed, is now a staple. Today in South Korea, Spam is considered a premium gift item. During holidays like Chuseok, elaborately packaged Spam gift sets sell for significant money. It's a sign of respect and thoughtfulness. Spam became a cooking staple. A wartime military ration had quietly transformed into comfort food for millions of people. The real story. None of this means Spam is health food. One serving contains 800 milligrams of sodium, about a third of the daily recommended limit. It's high in saturated fat. It's processed meat, which health organizations recommend limiting. If you're trying to eat clean or follow a low-sodium diet, Spam isn't your friend. But the real question was never whether Spam is healthy. The question is why we judge it more harshly than foods that are often more processed and less transparent about ingredients. The answer has less to do with what's actually inside and more to do with perception. A blue can that hasn't changed design in decades. A funny name that invites jokes. Decades of soldiers complaining about eating it every day during the war. Cultural momentum that turned Spam into a punchline. Meanwhile, foods with twice as many ingredients and equally high sodium get a pass because they're marketed better or packaged differently. Next time someone calls Spam mystery meat, remember this. It contains 6 simple ingredients you can identify without a chemistry degree. The mystery isn't what's inside. The mystery is why we treat it differently than equally processed foods. Sometimes the foods with the worst reputation have the simplest story.